Ladies, listen, I'm about to give it to you straight, no chaser. Because sometimes we need to hear it like it is. Not sugar-coated, not dipped in chocolate, real. Never lose yourself to keep a man. That's the first and most important rule in any relationship. See, what happens to so many women is they get into a relationship and suddenly they start changing, not evolving, changing. And there's a difference. Evolving means you're growing, improving, becoming a better version of yourself. Changing in this context means you're shrinking, you're compromising your identity, your values, your voice, just to make room for someone who wasn't ready to meet you where you already were. You had dreams before he showed up. You had a purpose. You had routines, goals, friendships, standards. Then slowly you started adjusting them. Stopped doing things you loved. Started saying yes to things you didn't want, just to keep the peace. You muted your personality. You laughed less. You stopped talking about what mattered to you, all because you were trying to make the relationship work, trying to hold on to him. But the truth is, if you have to let go of you to hold on to him, he's not yours to keep. A real man doesn't require you to be less. A real man can stand in the light of your full power and not feel threatened. If you were ambitious, he'll root for you. If you were loud and vibrant, he'll love your energy. If you were soft and strong at the same time, he'll respect your depth. But the moment you feel like you have to dim your light just so he can shine, that's not love, that's control. That's fear, that's settling. And let's talk about the cost. The cost of losing yourself is high, because once you start disconnecting from your true self, you lose your sense of direction. You don't know what's real anymore. You start asking, what happened to me? That sparkle, that drive, that joy, it gets buried under compromise after compromise. And the worst part, when it ends, and it usually does, you're not just heartbroken, you're empty. Because you don't just lose the man, you lost pieces of yourself along the way. Some of y'all are out here forgetting how powerful you are, forgetting how magnetic you are when you're operating in your truth. There's nothing more attractive than a woman who knows who she is and refuses to trade her identity for a relationship, because the right man will see your wholeness and say, I want to add to that, not take from it. The wrong man will see your shine and try to dim it so he can feel big. And I know why you do it. You think if you become what he wants, he'll stay. But ask yourself this, is it really worth keeping someone who only wants the watered down version of you? You think you're saving the relationship, but really you're sacrificing your authenticity. And once you go too far down that road, it's hard to come back. Ever played his mother? That's a role too many women step into without even realizing it. You meet a man, you like him, you see his potential, and before long, you're doing more than loving him. You're raising him. You're reminding him to pay his bills, helping him get his life together, pushing him to find direction, and covering for him every time he messes up. That's not a partnership, that's parenting. And let me tell you something. When a man starts to see you like his mother, the dynamic shifts. He doesn't respect you the same way, and he doesn't grow, because he knows you'll always catch him when he falls. A relationship is supposed to be two whole people coming together to build something real, not one adult and one grown boy playing dress up. You shouldn't have to teach a man how to be a man. That's not your job. He should already have that figured out before he steps to you. If he's still trying to find himself, still blaming everybody else for why he's not where he wants to be, still waiting for someone to save him, you're not looking at a partner. you're looking at a project. And that's not love, that's labor. Women are natural nurturers, and that's a beautiful thing, but there's a difference between nurturing a man and enabling his laziness, his immaturity, or his lack of direction. Some of y'all are cooking, cleaning, budgeting, fixing resumes, bailing him out, doing everything, but asking yourself, what is he bringing to the table? You're giving him the benefits of a wife while he's acting like a child, and that's backwards. The danger in playing his mother is that you stop getting the love and romance you deserve. He stops seeing you as a woman and starts depending on you like a safety net. You become his manager, his therapist, his personal assistant, all in one, and he gets comfortable, too comfortable, because he knows you'll always fix it, always forgive him, always fill in the gaps. And what does that leave you with? Exhaustion, resentment, disappointment. If a man wants to be in a grown relationship, he has to bring grown energy. That means emotional maturity. That means responsibility. That means showing up without needing constant supervision. If he's got dreams, he should be chasing them. If he's got struggles, he should be facing them. You can support, you can encourage, but you can't do it for him. Because the minute you stop mothering him, you stop getting the love you were supposed to receive. You become the giver, the fixer, the one carrying the whole relationship on your back. And deep down, a man knows when he's being mothered. It bruises his pride, chips away at his confidence, and whether he admits it or not, he'll start to feel like less of a man around you. Then he'll start pulling away, or worse, he'll start resenting you for doing the very things he depended on you to do. Never settle for half love. That kind of love will drain you before it ever fulfills you. See, real love is consistent. It shows up, it commits, it communicates. But half love, that's the kind that only shows up when it's convenient. That's the I love you when things are good, but silence when they get tough. That's the texting you back after 2 days like nothing happened. That's breadcrumbing, emotional inconsistency, and making you feel like you have to earn what should be given freely. Half love keeps you guessing. It keeps you questioning your worth. You start wondering, did I do something wrong? Is he pulling away? Why is he hot and cold? And that emotional roller coaster becomes normal. But it's not love, it's confusion. And love should never confuse you. It should never make you feel anxious, on edge, or uncertain about where you stand. If you're constantly trying to read between the lines, if you're always justifying his behavior to your friends, if you're the only one putting in the emotional effort, that's not love. That's a performance you're putting on just to feel chosen. Some women think being loyal to a man who's inconsistent means they're strong. But strength isn't staying in a situation that's draining you. Strength is knowing when to walk away from what doesn't serve you. Half love will make you feel like you have to lower your standards just to keep him around. You'll start accepting less and calling it compromise. You'll settle for late night texts instead of real dates. You'll settle for potential instead of presence. You'll settle for attention instead of commitment. And here's the thing, when you settle for half love, you block real love from ever reaching you. You're so busy holding on to someone who's halfway in and halfway out, you don't leave room for the one who will give you everything without hesitation. The kind of man who doesn't leave you wondering, the kind of man who sees your worth and treats it like it's priceless, not like it's negotiable. And here's the thing, when you settle for half love, you block real love from ever reaching you. You're so busy holding on to someone who's halfway in and halfway out, You don't leave room for the one who would give you everything without hesitation. The kind of man who doesn't leave you wondering. The kind of man who sees your worth and treats it like it's priceless, not like it's negotiable. You deserve someone who calls when they say they will. Someone who shows up, not just when it's easy, but when it matters. Someone who doesn't just say they love you, but proves it through consistency, respect, and effort. You don't have to chase that. You don't have to beg for that. You don't have to shrink yourself to get it. That's what real love looks like. It doesn't play games, and it doesn't play with your heart. Half love might feel better than being alone in the moment, but long term, it leaves you emptier than you were before, because deep down, you know you're giving more than you're getting. You know you're pouring into someone who's not pouring back. You know that no matter how much you try, he's not meeting you at the same level. And that's not something you can fix by loving harder. Never compete for his attention. The moment you find yourself doing mental gymnastics to stay on his radar, something's already off. If you have to fight for his time, beg for his energy, or wonder where you stand, you're not in a relationship, you're in a contest. And let me tell you, love is not a competition. You should never have to compete with another woman for your man's affection. If you do, he's not your man. He's just someone passing time until he figures out what he really wants. A man who truly values you is not going to have you second guessing your place in his life. He's not going to entertain options or keep doors cracked open for just in case. He's going to close every door that threatens what he's building with you, because he knows what he has and he knows it's rare. But some of y'all are so busy trying to prove you're worth staying for that you don't even realize how much of yourself you're giving away in the process. You start comparing yourself to other women. You start questioning if you're pretty enough, successful enough, fun enough. You start editing yourself based on who you think he wants, instead of standing firm in who you are. The right man doesn't need to be convinced. He doesn't need to be chased. He doesn't keep you around while he figures things out. When a man wants you, you'll know. You won't have to guess. You won't have to remind him that you're there. You won't feel like you're auditioning for a role in his life that should already be yours. But when a man is unsure, indecisive, or distracted, it's not your job to change that. It's your job to recognize the signs and move accordingly. There's nothing more painful than giving your all to someone who gives you just enough to keep you hanging on. A little attention here, a sweet text there, an apology when you're threatened to leave, but no real change, no consistency, no full investment. And the worst part is, you start to believe that's the best you can get. You start to accept crumbs, thinking it's a feast. But the truth is, you deserve someone who's all in, not someone who treats you like an option while you treat him like a priority. Love is not about convincing. It's about choosing. Two people choosing each other every day without distractions, without games. If he's still entertaining others, still scrolling through options like he's on a dating app, still disappearing when things get real, he's not ready. And you shouldn't have to suffer while he figures it out. You are not a placeholder, a backup plan, or a side character in his story. You are the main event, the one worth showing up for, the one worth protecting and prioritizing. There is peace in knowing you don't have to compete, that the man you're with sees only you, values only you, and make sure you never question it. But that kind of love starts with you deciding you're not going to fight for space in someone's life where you don't belong. Never ignore red flags. They're not suggestions, they're warnings. They're not quirks you learn to live with. They're signals telling you exactly what you're signing up for. But so many women fall in love with the potential of a man and end up excusing the reality. You see the short temper, you hear the disrespect, you feel the emotional distance, but instead of walking away, you justify it. You say, he's just stressed. You say he's been through a lot. You say nobody's perfect. And while all of that might be true, it doesn't mean you have to accept it. A man who shows you who he is early on is doing you a favor. That coldness you felt when you needed emotional support, that tendency to lie about little things, that way he dismisses your feelings or flips arguments on you, that's not going to magically disappear. If anything, it usually gets worse over time. Relationships magnify what's already there. And when you ignore red flags, you sign up for a lifetime of emotional exhaustion. You think you stand strong, but really you're staying stuck. One of the biggest lies we tell ourselves is that love is supposed to hurt, that struggle is proof of passion, that if we just hang in there long enough, we can fix it. But love is not a repair job. You're not a contractor. You're not responsible for remodeling someone's behavior just because you see their potential. Red flags are not puzzles for you to solve. They are boundaries being crossed, often early and often repeated. Some women are so afraid of being alone that they tolerate behaviors that slowly chip away at their self-worth. They accept inconsistencies. They downplay jealousy, control, disrespect, or manipulation. They call it rough around the edges, when really it's a lack of character. And deep down, they know it. Your intuition always knows, but fear makes you second guess yourself. Loneliness makes you rationalize. And before you know it, you're building a life with someone who was never built to love you right. There's nothing wrong with giving someone grace, but there's a difference between grace and enabling. There's a difference between support and self-sacrifice. The red flags you ignore today become the reasons you cry tomorrow. The signs were there, but you were too busy hoping they'd change to protect your peace. You wanted the fairy tale so bad, you tried to rewrite the truth. But ignoring red flags won't turn them green. They don't fade, they don't disappear, they just become part of your new normal until you forget what healthy even looks like. Every time you ignore a red flag, you teach someone how to treat you. You show them what you're willing to tolerate. You communicate with your silence that their behavior is acceptable. And once that line is crossed, it's hard to draw it again. You keep giving chances and they keep taking advantage. Not because they don't know better, but because they know you'll stay. Never mistake potential for partnership. One of the biggest traps women fall into is seeing who a man could become and falling in love with that version instead of who he is right now. You see glimpses of greatness, flashes of ambition. Maybe he talks a good game about what he wants to do, where he wants to be, the kind of man he wants to become. And because you believe in him, you attach yourself to the future instead of paying attention to the present. But a relationship is not a vision board. You can't build something solid on who someone might be. Potential is attract, no doubt about it. It gives hope, it sparks imagination, it makes you feel like you're investing in something that's going to grow. But the danger is you start doing all the work. You start pouring energy into building him up, supporting his dreams, helping him become, but at what cost to you? Meanwhile, he's comfortable because he doesn't have to rise the level he talks about. He knows you'll be there regardless. You become his coach, his cheerleader, his backbone, but you're not getting the same energy in return. Partnership is about mutual effort. It's about two people walking side by side, both committed, both contributing, both ready. It's not one person dragging the other forward, hoping they'll catch up. It's not you playing savior, therapist, or motivational speaker just to keep the relationship afloat. If he's not ready to show up as a partner, then he's not ready to be in a relationship. Potential means he has it in him. Partnership means he's actively living it out. There's a big difference. Too many women waste years waiting for a man to grow into what he promised. You keep thinking if you're just patient enough, loyal enough, supportive enough, he'll eventually rise to the occasion. But while you're busy building him, you're putting your own life on pause. Your dreams take a back seat. Your peace starts to fade. And the worst part is, when a man doesn't feel the need to meet you at your level, he won't. Why would he change when he has everything he wants and hasn't had to elevate to get it? Loving someone's potential is like loving an unfinished house. You can see what it could be, but if the foundation isn't strong, nothing you build on top will last. You need more than dreams. You need action. You need consistency. You need someone who doesn't just talk about being better, they do better. Because real partnership requires presence, effort, and maturity, not just ambition. It's not enough for him to say he wants to be a great man. He has to be putting in the daily work to actually become one. Potential should be a bonus, not the foundation. If he's not showing up now fully with honesty, with discipline, with purpose, then you're not in a partnership, you're in a waiting game. Never forget you are the prize. So often, women get so caught up in the pursuit of love, validation, or connection that they forget their own worth. They start thinking they have to prove themselves, chase after attention, and make themselves smaller just to fit into someone else's life. But here's the truth, you are already the prize. The moment you forget that, you start accepting less than you deserve. You begin to believe that love is something you have to earn, something you have to chase, when in reality, it should be something that's chosen. You are the one who should be chosen, not someone who needs to be convinced to stay, not someone who makes you question your value. The right man will see you for who you are. He will recognize your worth from the start and not try to mold you into something else to make himself more comfortable. He will honor your boundaries, respect your individuality, and treat you with the love and attention that you've always deserved. But this begins with you understanding that you are the prize. You don't need to seek out validation from anyone else. You don't need to convince anyone that you're worthy of their love. You need to believe in your value so strongly that no one can ever make you feel less than. When you're walking through life believing you're the prize, you stop settling for relationships that drain you, for men who don't appreciate you, and for situations that don't add value to your life. You start protecting your energy. You stop chasing after men who aren't giving you the same energy. You stop settling for attention when you deserve affection. You stop holding on to half love because you know you deserve all of it. You recognize that if a man can't see your worth, he doesn't deserve you, no matter how much potential he has or how charming his words are. When you remember you're the prize, your standards rise. You stop accepting bare minimums and start expecting more, not in a demanding way, but in a way that says, I know what I bring to the table, and I expect you to match that energy. You won't tolerate disrespect or dishonesty. You won't tolerate feeling like an option when you're someone's priority. You won't chase love, you'll let it come to you. And if it doesn't, you'll know it wasn't meant for you. This doesn't mean you'll be perfect or expect perfection from anyone. It doesn't mean you won't have to navigate the ups and downs of relationships. but it does mean you'll never let yourself get so lost in the chase that you forget who you are or what you deserve. You won't keep going back to situations where your love isn't reciprocated. You won't keep begging for attention or forcing someone to meet you where you are. You'll walk away when the energy isn't aligned with yours, because you know you deserve someone who will give you what you give them. You are not just a companion, a partner, or an option. You are the prize. The man who sees that and treats you accordingly is the one who's worthy of you. The moment you fully embrace your value, you start attracting the kind of love that reflects that. You stop wasting time with the wrong people and you start creating space for the right ones.